part.
What are my lines again? Lines.
lines.
You have 5 words, sir. Get it down. Welcome to JC and the Beardless. We're your hosts. I'm JC.
I'm the Beardless, and today we're going to look a little deeper at Kavanaugh, and we're going to look at Helsinki and some more topics.
And so much more.
So much more.
Much more. You don't even know what's in store for you.
All right, so to get on the topic of Kavanaugh, I know it's we're kind of talking about it after the fact, but he's going to start getting under the eye of scrutiny.
It's important.
Yeah, so we're gonna scruttle him a little bit with our eyes.
I believe the word is scrutinize.
That's it. Yeah, sure. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Grammar Nazi. Okay, we're gonna look at this
Don't
political.
Use that word, we're gonna get flagged.
Oh gosh, already.
Our first episode's gonna get demonetized.
First episode flagged. Okay, so there's a political article called Brett Kavanaugh's Track Record, and basically it's going to go through some of his important decisions and kind of like what his decision was on those cases and kind of his reasoning. I don't think it has reasoning for all of them, but I mean, we can get a pretty good idea of what we're getting with Brett Kavanaugh if we look at some of his past cases.
Kind of gives us a track record.
Yeah.
Something to go by.
And this is the game we're going to play, and it's called Kavanaughty or Kavanice. And at the end of it, we're going to tell you, do we think he's a good pick or do we think he's a bad pick?
In the end, is he overall Kavanaughty or Kavanice?
Right.
Based on
see
the
what
ratio.
we're getting here. See what Trump has given us.
Yep.
All right, so let's just jump right into this article.
We're not going to read every word because it's a lot.
Right. We're not going to look at every single decision.
Overview it.
The first one, though, talks about abortion and birth control. So in 2015, he was a dissent in the Obamacare's mandate for contraception coverage infringed on the rights of religious organizations. And so religious liberty groups said, hey, good job. This is great that he's siding with the religious freedom over a healthcare mandate. So what do you think about that? So right out the gate, he's siding with a First Amendment idea.
I think that's Kavanice.
Yeah, that's Kavanice. Definitely, there's no way Obamacare is stronger than the First Amendment of the Constitution.
I don't think so.
So that's a plus. That's a Kavanice already in the column.
One, just right off the bat, a good old Kavanice.
Okay, so we're already going to flip the script here a little bit. Obamacare. So we just talked about the Obamacare mandate, the good thing about Kavanaugh. Let's talk about the bad thing about Kavanaugh with that.
Well, so it seems like you're prejudging here, buddy.
In 2011, well, we all kind of know he's popular for something. He wrote a 2011 decision that his critics say laid the groundwork for Chief Justice John Roberts to later uphold the constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act under the reasoning that its mandate for individuals to buy health insurance could be considered a tax. Yeah, so basically he's like, "Oh, all this stuff is great. Let's just look at the one mandate part that says you have to get it or you get fined." He was like, "Well, no, that's just the government imposing a tax. So everything else is good. It's all kosher now."
So yeah, that's a Kavanaugh.
That's a Kavanaugh. Yeah,
basically Kavanaugh on that one.
Basically, it took a really big court case with this really big law, and he looked at one little tiny part, and then Chief Justice Roberts was like, well, this guy did all my work for me, so when it makes it up all the way to the top, I'll just say what he says, and that's basically what happened. All right, digital privacy. Huh?
You can't win them all.
No, well, yeah, you would hope that. Well, we'll see. All right, let's look at the rest of these, and we'll find out how many he did win. Well, not win, but how many he's nice with. So digital privacy. He joined other judges in rejecting a challenge to the National Security Agency's warrantless collection of phone metadata, writing that the operation exposed by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden is entirely consistent with the Fourth Amendment. Furthermore, he wrote, a critical national security need outweighs the impact on privacy occasioned by this program.
Yeah, so I feel like this one is probably more torn than most of them, but I'm definitely leaving Kavanaugh on that one.
Well, I'm going to side with you right there, too. I'm leading Kavanaugh, too, just because the Fourth Amendment... He's taking the Fourth Amendment so literally that it doesn't mean that other data that's collected, even though that you don't get a cell phone because you know that your data is going to be collected. It's still your private conversations, your private text. the government should have to be able to get a warrant to do these
I
things.
agree.
So definitely Kavanaugh on that one. So kind of these privacy rights, he's a little iffy on.
Yeah.
And the part about it I hate the most is his explanation for it is a critical national security need.
Yeah.
Okay, and you already know how I feel about Trump's tariffs, especially since the executive branch shouldn't be able to pass tariffs because they're a critical national security need. No. So I hate when national security is just thrown out there as an explanation to anything. They do that in TVs and movies all the time. Not TV shows and movies. They do it in them TVs.
The good old TV box.
It says he had a more mixed record in a case debating whether authorities needed a warrant to place a GPS tracker on a suspect's car. On one hand, he and other Republican judges said the suspect had no reasonable expectation of privacy in his public movements, but Kavanaugh separately said the government might have violated the suspect's property rights by tampering with his vehicle, an argument that Justice Scalia later cited in ruling that authorities indeed need a warrant.
See, that seems a little wishy-washy to me.
Which part?
Seems a little confusing. He's saying your phone is fine, but your car is not.
Right.
Your phone is free game, but
Well,
your car is private.
Well, I think what he's saying is not necessarily your phone is private. It's that the data that you send out on your phone, like your airwave transmissions and your data that moves over of your text. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's saying, no, that's not owned by you. But then down here, this car is your private property. So yeah, I think he needs there needs to be a better definition. And unfortunately, some of these cases have determined these definitions of what constitutes your private property or not. Is that text your private property since you wrote it on your phone and sent it or not?
You also paid for the data to send it with.
Right.
So does that make it your own private property since you paid for the data that you're sending it on?
I don't know. That might make it a service. That might be AT&T's data, and you're just using their service, so you don't own it to begin with.
I paid for it though.
Right. You're just kind of using their private property.
I never saw the word rent on my bill.
So this is going to have to be an issue that has to be talked about a little more and kind of discussed in the courts. There'll probably be more cases where this will be brought up, and then we'll get a more definitive, clear definition of what constitute these property rights.
I think overall we're still leaning Kavanaugh on that one though.
Overall. I think we should give half a point to Nani, half a point to Nani.
Well, yeah, if we look at the second part, at least he did side with Scalia saying you can't just put a tracker on someone's car because that's their private property.
So you have to have a warrant for that. Kavanaugh on that one.
Half a Kavanaugh? I say 0.25. 0.33333333333333.
You're going to confuse people. They're not all that good at maths.
All right, so another hot button issue, immigration. It's always in the news every day, all day long.
Gosh.
So let's look and see how Kavanaugh's been with immigration. Supporters of immigration restrictions praise Kavanaugh for 2 court cases. In one, he opposed granting special visas for Brazilian workers when American workers could also do the same job. In the other, he argued that a union election was void because undocumented immigrants had voted in it and tainted the result. So what Politico means by undocumented immigrants is illegal aliens.
But they don't like to use real words.
Don't let them fool you.
They don't like to use words and definitions that apply correctly to the situation.
Right. So
that would be politically incorrect.
So on one hand, he said, no, you can't send these visas out to Brazilian workers because Americans can do these jobs. Why do you need to send these visas out? So that was his explanation. And on the other argument, he said, no, this union election is void now because you had illegals voting in it. They don't have a social security number. They're not a documented worker in the United States to be able to be a part of this union, so they can't vote in it. So what do you think about those?
I'm a little split on this one because I think that if you get a work visa, that's fine. That's a legal That's a legal way of immigrating, at least temporarily, into the country. I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think there should be anything against that. Just because there's a job that American workers can do doesn't mean they want to or will.
Right.
And it's okay. I think it's okay to have. Plus, they're at least temporarily they are Americans when they're here on a visa.
Right. And so basically his explanation is, well, American workers can do it, so we don't need Brazilians. But that's not a constitutional issue.
No.
So I see where you're coming from on that one.
But the second half, I mean, I like that. That shows I'm hoping that shows his greater immigration policy.
Right. The second part, the second case,
not the first part. The second
where he's
part,
like, no, an illegal immigrant can't vote in any type of election, even though it's not a state, local, or national election, even though it's just part of a union. So
that reminds me, I just saw something today about, man, I don't remember exactly where it is, but somewhere they've started registering illegal immigrants. Which is not how they worded it on the article, but somewhere it's a certain city.
Well, look for it, and I'll be reading the next one, okay? So, religion and schools. Kavanaugh has suggested he may be open to widening the flow of public funding to religious schools. In an essay last year for the American Enterprise Institute, he cheered the late Chief Justice William Rehnquist's efforts to reverse prior Supreme Court attempts at erecting a strict wall of separation between church and state, especially when it comes to schools. He also predicted during a CNN appearance in 2000 that the court would one day uphold school vouchers. Kavanaugh also wrote a friend of the court brief in 1999 in favor of a Texas high school's policy allowing the use of public address system for student-led and student-initiated prayers at school football games. So on the second one, about the policy allowing the use of a public address system for student-led, anytime anything's student-led, that's constitutional. You can't tell a student they can't practice a religious thing publicly. You can't tell them they can. It's completely up to them. The only thing that comes in constitutionally with the public education system is people in authority positions like teachers and administrators and coaches. They're the ones that can't promote public religious exercise because they're not supposed to influence the kids. At that
point, they're forcing the children
to
partake.
So basically, that last one I just read that's perfectly fine because student-led religious expression is perfectly fine in the first place. I don't know why. That just shows you how sad some cases have gotten to where students can't even lead it themselves.
I couldn't
on the first
find that
part,
article, but it's happening somewhere.
Right. On that first part about the wall of separation and the school vouchers, I mean, we've talked about this before, that if the school is a religious school, but they can perform their duties like a public school would and provide all the curriculum that a student needs to be successful and show that they can have test scores that let students get into college and careers and develop good citizens, there's no reason they shouldn't receive some funding as well.
Ultimately, the government shouldn't be able to decide how a school teaches with money. They shouldn't be able to use money to determine how schools are taught.
Here, it should be on that list somewhere. It's one of those links. So maybe there needs to be some kind of congressional review for some of this stuff when it comes to the state level. I don't think the federal government should be involved in this. But, I mean, a good education is a good education. We have to try any new avenues we can to make sure America stays in the lead when it comes to educating our children to the highest they can to produce the future flying car inventors. I'm still waiting.
Okay, so this is a Daily Wire article. We'll have it linked in the description. San Francisco begins registering illegal aliens to vote.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Does it say what they're going to be allowed to be vote for? Is it just San Francisco things?
It does, but I think your phone just died. So.
Oh, well, you're welcome. You get the headline,
you can
and that's
read,
it.
You can read the article. They're voting for something, and it's not right.
All right, Grant, see if you can look that up for us, and when you get an understanding of what's going on, let us know. All right, let's move to net neutrality. It's a nice little short blurb here. He called the FCC's net neutrality order an unlawful First Amendment violation.
Wait. Did we give a...
Oh, about the schools?
Yeah,
I said Kavanagh's. Upholding First Amendment issues in 1999, and then in 2000, making sure that the courts don't strike down what could be successful programs in the state to use religious schools.
And they can't use money to
dangling that money on the end of a string.
And I just wanted to make sure we give
Kavanagh's
on that one.
All right, so net neutrality, he said it was unlawful First Amendment violation, all right, which I couldn't agree more.
Solid.
So this is going to be kind of a trend with Kavanaugh we're going to see. He is going to shoot down like executive bodies that just try to make rules on their own. As you saw earlier, he didn't go over the entirety of Obamacare because it was a law that was passed, right? Mm-hmm. So he does give quite a bit of leeway to laws that pass within Congress.
Legally.
Right, legally, yes. But he does not give any room for like executive bureaus that say, well, we're going to create a new rule. He does not. And that's a great, fantastic thing about
Chevron
him.
deference, if you will.
Right. Yeah. He's very anti-Chevron deference.
They will not mention in this article, you will see, because that would be too good for him.
Right.
They don't like that.
I mean, this is basically, kind of attached to that. This is the FCC and executive department saying, we're going to create a new law, basically. This is the law of the land now. Well, you can't create laws. You're in the executive branch. You need Congress to create a law. So Kavanaugh strikes it down. He said, you can't do that. Chevron deference is, all right, say the FCC had its own court. The FCC said, well, you didn't follow net neutrality right, and you sue to say, no, I did, and instead of going to the Supreme Court, it goes to this court within the FCC. So the executive branch has created a law, which made it the legislative branch, and now they're doing their own judicial court case on. So you just made the executive branch all three branches.
Seems to me it might be just ever so slightly biased.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, well,
just
I guess we'll rule against ourselves.
Yeah.
We were wrong.
We were wrong, and you were right.
And that's why we have checks and balances.
That sounds like the government if I've ever heard it.
So that's definitely a big Kavanaugh for me because it shows the importance he places on checks and balances. Yes. Oh, look, no, right here.
Oh, hey, it does mention it.
So
I take that back. It does mention the Chevron deference.
So it talks about his net neutrality dissent was connected to his what is the word I'm looking for? Being against it. His resistance to Chevron deference. That's good. That's fine. That's the first one that popped up that at least made a little bit of sense. I'm gonna go with it.
Join the resistance.
All right. Environment and climate change. Kavanaugh has weighed in on dozens of environmental cases because of his seat on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, and he's widely seen as critical of many Obama-era rules from the EPA. In 2012, for example, he wrote a decision that rejected EPA's attempt to curb air pollution that crosses state lines. He has often leaned toward restricting the EPA's powers when he believed the agency lacked specific authorization from Congress, including in courtroom comments surrounding Obama administration's climate rules for power plants.
I'm sensing a trend here.
Yes. So basically he was against the EPA on many occasions because it was another executive branch
creating laws.
Executive branch bureau creating laws and trying to enforce the laws they create instead of Congress creating them, and then the EPA trying to figure out the best way to enforce those laws. So, I mean, another beautiful
Kavanaugh right there.
Yeah, another Kavanaugh.
Just a big old Kavanaugh.
Another victory for checks and balances with Kavanaugh.
It seems like most of these are boiling down to checks and balances.
Right. Yes. Yeah. These cases in this category.
And he's very consistent, which is it's a Kavanaugh thing.
Okay, here we go. Here's another executive branch.
That doesn't count, Grant. That's not an extra point.
Here's another shooting down the powers of the executive branch. Okay, the IRS doesn't have the power to regulate paid tax preparers, Kavanaugh wrote in 2014 opinion. Such oversight can make sense, he said, but that is a decision for Congress and the president to make if they wish by enacting new legislation. So I kind of hate that he says, oh, that could make sense. Regulate them. That could make sense, which I don't like that he said that. But
he's
at least he said the executive branch doesn't have the right to do this. It has to be a law passed by Congress.
Look at him just flowing in his groove there.
Yeah, so his groove is checks and balances.
Checks and balances, baby. It's like he wants the government to function in the way that it's supposed to.
So even though he said the oversight can make sense, which that kind of irritates me, at least he found in favor of checks. Kavanagh's, yeah.
Kavanagh's overall.
Kavanagh's. All right. Skip that. I don't know. I like that one a lot. Okay, so Kavanaugh basically if you hold on, I got to see that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB. Okay, another executive branch, right? Is executive branch, or was it set up by Congress and then executive branch runs it? Oh, all I know is that you have this Lord Emperor of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the Lord Emperor can basically use his Sith Lord powers to make whatever rules he wants to protect the consumer from like financial institutions and stuff, okay? Oh, you can't give a $30 fee anymore for overdrafting? Thus saith Lord Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So
what was Kavanaugh?
So basically said that's unconstitutional. You cannot have these bureaucrats, basically you cannot have unelected officials just making laws however they want, making rules for things. And, you know, the Dems love the CFPB because they get to try to, well, when we're in power, we're going to appoint this really strong leftist, and he's just going to make all these rules and shoot down all of the capitalist pigs. But no, he says, no, that's unconstitutional. If you want to pass a law that changes something, Congress has to do it. So, man, Kavanaugh again, with checks and balances, just awesome. Just get rid of the bureaucrats. Drown them. No, take that back. Take that back. Never mind. No, you can drown. No, never mind. Okay. Affirmative action. Well, okay, this case is great.
We gave a verdict.
Okay, the affirmative action. Okay. Tell me if this is an affirmative action case or racism case when I get done with it.
Yeah.
Kavanaugh in 1999 wrote an amicus brief on behalf of the Center for Equal Opportunity, a group that opposes race-based affirmative action in college admissions. The brief argued that a Hawaii law allowing only Native Hawaiians to vote in elections for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs was unconstitutional and prohibiting people from voting because of their race. And the Supreme Court agreed with that argument 7-2, which is a strong decision, 7-2. And so those other two were blatantly leftist racists.
Clearly.
To say that, oh, no, your ancestors weren't Native Hawaiians. Oh, no, you can't vote. What?
Yeah,
this is America. Yes, that is a state of Hawaii, but you are in America. Sorry. And we have a thing called the Bill of Rights.
Again, nothing to do with affirmative action. It's
that
race.
is not an affirmative action
just because race is in it doesn't make it an affirmative action case.
Right. So basically what Politico's saying is like he was stepping on the toes of minorities by doing this. Well, we got to give the minorities.
Are they really the minority in Hawaii though?
They're the minority to the left. The left, it doesn't
They're
matter.
not white, so they're a minority.
Right.
Even if they're the majority of the population in their state that they're trying to regulate, they are the minority because their skin is darker than mine.
Right. And their ancestry is Polynesian or Hawaiian, Islander. And so basically that's racism. That's not affirmative action.
It's not affirmative action.
You
It
don't
just has
say
race
one
involved.
race can have a right to vote and another race doesn't. That's racism.
That's
not
straight
affirmative
racism.
Action. All right, and that wraps up the Politico article.
So
how many was that? Were you counting them up?
What was our tally there?
How many night?
Oh, it's hard math. Man.
Oh yeah,
He's got to bust out
addition, subtraction. Oh, pi graphs.
A little bit of algebra.
Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah, man. I think this kind of.
7.5 nice.
7.5 nice.
With 1.5 naughty.
1.5. This
naughty.
is like a nice Supreme Court decision, except we got half a vote on both sides.
Right. Yeah. So one of the Supreme Court judges was like, I'm not sure it could go either way.
Half a verdict for both of you. So overall, Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Kavanaugh. We think
for now
it's a good pick. You know, no telling what he's going to do.
Yeah.
As we saw in there, some of his like leeway with laws is kind of like, oh, if that's what Congress wants to do. But at least he will shoot down things that break checks and balances.
He was very consistent. I like that.
Yeah, at least he's consistent, yeah. And I think checks and balances are still one of the most important parts of the organization of our country, because if one branch becomes too powerful, then like the executive branch has become over the past 50 years, then you're going to start seeing rulings and laws in your life changed based on one bureaucrat's ideas instead of the entirety of Congress having to agree to change your life in some kind of way. Right?
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm going to act like I was listening to what you were saying just then.
Oh, sure. Thanks. I hope they're listening since you aren't.
Don't be like me. All right, our next topic. Let's talk about this summit with Putin that Trump just had.
Putin.
This is a little more relevant. It happened more recently. Did I say it very strangely?
You always say it very strangely. But, I mean, his name's Putin. So, yeah,
No,
Putin.
no. Stop
Putin
it.
is my pudding.
All right.
Hello.
So we got a couple.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're going to make me have a coughing fit.
Sorry. All right, so Helsinki summit.
All right, so the Helsinki summit. We got a couple things to say about this. I think you had something you want to talk about.
Well, okay, so the main thing is Trump's getting flack from everyone, basically. He's gotten some flack from me, too. I don't agree with the things he said.
Some things.
You know, people have said he looked like a dog that just made a mess in the house and someone smacked him on the nose with a newspaper. And I kind of got the feel from it as well. But here's my thing. And this is where I think Trump is coming from. And I'm not saying this is right. I just think this is where he's coming from. It feels like an enemy of my enemy is my friend routine going on. Okay? The left, the media. They say I'm in bed with Russia. They say they got me elected. They say I conspired with them. Well, guess what? And they hate Russia. They want me to destroy Russia. Not destroy, but, you know, all this anti-Russia stuff, anti-Trump stuff. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to be friends with Putin now. Forget the media, forget the left. I'm going to be Putin's friend. Putin doesn't accuse me of anything whenever we talk. Putin looks at me longingly and wants to. So I think that's where this is coming from. I think that the left says this was like the most dangerous summit in forever, a lifetime. I mean, they don't remember any other meetings between any other superpowers in the early 20th century.
Yeah.
So this was the most dangerous summit of all time.
That never happened.
Cold War, non-existent.
Yeah.
World War II never happened.
Yeah. We've never met with people that were slightly aggressive.
There's never been any world problems before.
No.
There's never been war or anything until Trump.
Up until Trump's election, I'm pretty sure we lived in a utopian society.
Basically, yeah.
Socialism was abundant and abounded in beauty, and we just lived peacefully on this planet that we shared so well.
According to the left, until Trump got elected.
Until
this summit.
And now everything's falling apart and Putin's evil.
Right.
Well, I mean, he kind of is, but...
Oh, gosh. So...
I mean, to be fair, the dude's... I mean, he's not the best guy. But...
All right, to wrap it up for me, basically it feels like that he is going out of his way to make it a point that I got elected fairly. I'm not compromised or anything because the left. So the left has caused this. So if hey left, okay, if you think the world's about to end with a war between U.S. and Russia, it's your fault. You're the one who's been dragging on this investigation, this Mueller investigation. You're the one on TV 2,000 times a day says that Trump is evil and he was colluding with the Russians. This is your fault. Trump has said all of these things because of you, left, okay? Not because he really feels this way. It's because the enemy of his enemy is his friend now, and he's going to do whatever contrary thing he can to do to make it look like what y'all are saying isn't real. So
I have two things on that.
Okay.
Because we really think, Russell.
Yeah, Russell, tell us what you really think. I have to disagree just ever so slightly on this, which is a good thing because we can't always agree because then it'd be boring. But, I mean, I have to point out that during his campaign, he mentioned that he was friends with Putin long before the whole Russian scandal thing even happened. I mean, he mentioned it a couple of times that he was friends with Putin. He was going to make friends with Putin. We were going to have a good deal with Putin.
Right.
So I think that he's been planning this for a while. I think maybe he's taking advantage of the situation and turning it into an enemy of my enemy type situation.
Right.
But I don't think he ever didn't intend on having some kind of relationship with Putin. Also, I forgot what my second point was. Oh, I think it's cute that you think the left is going to be watching this.
They'll stumble across it and get mad and make some comments down at the
I think they
bottom.
will have already been very mad far before you.
With your first point, I understand what you're saying, but Trump is I'm not saying he's good at it, but he's like an orator. Okay.
Orator.
Yeah. It feels like his administration does all the work and he talks. That's what it feels like to me. All right. And I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not never Trump.
Yeah.
I love Trump when he does something fantastic for America, and shame on Trump when he does the opposite.
Absolutely.
Because I want him to be a great president.
Yeah.
Okay. I want him to be a great president. And so far, his policy and his administration have done wonderful things.
Yeah, they've done very good things.
Now, I can't say everything that comes out of his mouth or comes off of his Twitter is a wonderful
and
thing.
not even all of his policies are great. You mentioned earlier your opposition to the tariffs. And
well, yeah.
Did you mention that earlier, or was that prior
yeah,
to
I did. I did.
recording?
No, I said it earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. I said I wasn't a fan of that.
And that's understandable.
Right. And so I don't
Historically, it's
agree
not
with all
exactly
this.
the best policy.
Right. But most of his policies and like his Supreme Court picks, stuff like that has been fantastic.
Yeah.
But like I said, he is a talker.
Well, even down to the Supreme Court pick, I personally think he could have done a better choice with Barrett.
Right.
But it's not a bad choice.
No, it's not a bad choice.
As far as we can tell. We're going to have to see. But
right. I mean, from what we've seen so far, at least he's trying to, like we've already talked about it.
Yeah.
But
in the end, basically our point is we're not pro-Trump. We're not never Trump. We make our decisions.
We're pro-America. We're pro the Constitution.
We make our decisions day by day.
But as you were saying with the Putin thing earlier, I think that was because he was trying to come off as I don't want to say like retreating America, but he was trying to come off as kind of like that libertarian viewpoint of how we should handle world politics, where we're kind of neutral into ourselves and try to make everyone an ally and try not to be imperial. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was trying to like brush off a stigma that was created under the W's administration of going out, starting wars, and taking stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's how I always took his Putin comment is, elect me, we're never going to have wars, because Trump would say something that finite. He would be like, we're never going to have wars.
Never gonna have a war.
Yeah. So
it's going to be excellent. Never going to have a war again. It's going to be beautiful.
So that's how I feel about that, how I originally talked about him. It just feels like it's different this time because it felt like he was directing everything he was saying to the people accusing him of rigging the election.
The way the speech went, or the summit went, it didn't look good on him.
No, it didn't. No, I agree. It
just
didn't
look good on him.
I just feel like I understand why he did it. Not that it looked good. I think it looked horrible, and I'm glad it's over, and we can move to the next crazy thing that happens next week.
And it will. And that's what keeps us in
with
business.
Trump in office, yes, it will.
Although a lot of the stuff it's just so repetitive in the mainstream media.
Yeah. Well, I think people are getting tired of the Trump-Russia thing big time.
Well,
this has rejuvenated it now. They're like, look, he was nice to Putin.
But
he said he was like a smart dude.
It shows you how long they'll hold on to it, though, because they held on to that until like a few weeks ago, if not longer than that.
I mean, they were still holding on to it. It's just Kavanaugh happened for a few days.
And immigration and children being
things
separated.
happen. But once those things die down, once they die down, it's back to Trump-Russia immediately.
That's their favorite, their go-to. I had something I wanted to say about the summit. It wasn't really related to that. It was just an observation of mine.
Okay.
Was that I don't remember what it's called. Grant might look it up later. It's obviously not easy to look up. I mean, easy to pronounce, but
Grant, it's
Helsinki's main newspaper, I believe it was, put up a bunch of posters and flyers and billboards and whatever you want to call them, basically calling out Trump for being a media hater. One of them I remember read, "Welcome, Mr. President, to the land of free media." What really bothered me about this was not really that they were calling out Trump. It was mainly the fact that the other person involved in the summit was Vladimir Putin, who's basically known for being a murderer. He invaded the Ukraine because he wanted to. He has to be responsible for the deaths of thousands of people. Right?
Yeah.
And so they call out Trump because he says that CNN is fake news.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. It's like basically you just took the king of all corruption.
Yeah.
And then you have this little peasant next to him that accidentally stole a piece of candy. Yeah. And it's like, he's the bad guy, not the king.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. It's like Putin will legitimately murder you if you print the wrong thing. Trump just likes to hold rallies and call you fake news.
And also, to be fair, most of it's fake news.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just, calling the truth.
Right, calling it how you see it. Now, it's not always 100%.
Not always. Sometimes it is something that just aggravated them or they said something a little annoying, but
it is a little annoying.
I noticed...
Right.
I noticed, obviously 100% of CNN is news. Obviously, 100% of CNN's news is not fake news.
Right.
But I will say a lot of it is.
Right.
A lot, and there are other sources that just, man,
I
they
won't
like
say
to
fake
lie.
news. I'll say news that you're never sure what to trust or not. So it's hard to have any confidence in it. You see what I'm saying?
I'm going to say...
It's because once you start losing confidence in something, you don't want to have to read a CNN article and be like, well, I got to go look up all the sources.
Yeah.
I got to look and see what everybody wrote about it. Because when you're doing that, you're basically saying, why am I wasting my time with CNN? Because I have to fact check every single thing.
A lot of it, I agree, is like that. Mm-hmm. But honestly, there's some of it, a lot of it, actually, that I feel like legitimately they know that what they're saying is at the very best, just they can't prove it.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of times it's straight up either twisted truths or lies.
Right.
And I know it to be.
That is when in an article they bury the pertinent information to like the 17th paragraph.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which one was that? I can't remember what
that was. The one about the immigration.
That's right.
Where they were talking about these kids that were held in cells and tortured and bags over their heads. But they didn't. And they said Trump in the article 7 times before they got to like the 19th paragraph. And you find out.
14th paragraph. And they find out that it was actually under Obama.
Under the Obama administration. But they didn't say that till the 19th paragraph. So you had to have the time to read all the way through.
We're not fake news. It's the 14th paragraph.
14th paragraph, sorry. And they mentions Trump name 7 or 11 times
I believe it's 7.
Before that. So you were led to think if you didn't have enough time to finish that article, it was Trump's fault and it happened under Trump.
Even if you read it real fast and it just didn't register.
Right.
Like it mentioned Obama once in the 14th paragraph out of like 20 paragraphs.
It was like, and all these horrible things, Obama administration, and then Trump came along.
And I love how they still, okay, we can't get onto that. Never mind. I don't want to get in. I don't want to sidetrack onto that topic. It's just, that's going to have to be for another episode.
Another little tidbit that's real funny is Obama had a speech today that was live on YouTube. And the likes and dislikes was fantastic. It was maybe 5,000 or 6,000 likes and 18,000 dislikes.
Well, I
still the celebrity, Obama.
Still need to. I'm gonna have to watch the actual.
I didn't even know he was doing that
speech.
Today.
I didn't either.
Wow, that's pretty. Wow. So the left hates Trump more than they love Obama, because if there was no good Trump news, I would have heard about this Obama thing. Yeah. But no, they have to hate Trump. Yeah. They hate Trump more than their Lord and Savior Obama.
More than they
very
love.
Interesting.
Yeah. That reminds me of the.
I hate Hitler more than I love Jesus.
Ouch. That reminds me of that Hillary speech. We're not going to be able to dig into that one on this episode either.
Oh yes, that'll be
we're gonna have to.
Next time.
I think we're gonna have to do an entire episode dedicated to just tearing down that speech. Honestly, it's 30 minutes long, and I tried to write an article about it today. I might post it tomorrow if I can finish it,
right?
Because it's so long. But I literally got 6 minutes into it, and it took me like 20 minutes to get there writing. Like I had to listen to it a little bit, and then I had to pause it because there was some point that was just so ridiculously, blatantly wrong.
Right.
That I had to make a comment on it. And that was 6 minutes in out of 30 minutes. So
I mean, we
might have to make an
literally
could
do like a 10-volume Britannica encyclopedia over how false and ridiculous her speeches are.
Oh yeah, but
I mean,
so
she disappeared for a little bit, but then it seemed like every week now she's like saying this really ridiculous thing, and it felt like it all started with, well, we lost because all the women voted for the same Trump like they did with their boss and their husband. Yeah. It's like women vote. What decade is she living in where women are like, boss, who do you want me to vote for? Well, you ain't working for me unless you vote for Trump. Okay, boss.
Because that's legal.
What? So yeah, I mean, ever since then, it feels like to me like she's losing her mind, and she doesn't know what's real anymore. She's when she does speeches.
She's like a slightly less ridiculous Maxine Waters, who we can also do the same thing with. You say that's slander?
Just slightly.
Oh, I thought you said that's slander. That would have been hilarious.
And the only reason that she's a little bit slight of Maxine Waters is that Maxine Waters is still relevant and Hillary's not.
Well, that and Maxine Waters is literally just
she's still in a
bird.
Political position.
I think she might actually be going insane.
Well, Hillary had to put on her human suit.
It's valid. So we're gonna have to make an episode about that. We can't diverge into it now, but what I think that it's a time for our final segment, or much more, if you will, or so much more.
Are we gonna sing it together?
Yeah, we're gonna. Extreme. that
was the shortest timer ever, Grant. It like just popped up the one.
All right, let's try this again. This is extremely late movie reviews. Reviews with an S.
We're keeping
This is great. This is going great.
In this segment, we're going to have it regularly. We're going to review a movie that we should have seen years and years ago,
and we might
maybe
have.
decades ago. And we're going to review it. We might have, but most of these are going to be most of these are going to be that we were so late to the party. So spoiler warning.
Spoiler alert. Dean, throw something.
You
up
probably don't need one, but we're going to say that anyway because it's so old. You've seen it. Trust me, you've seen it.
Or you haven't, unlike me, because we're actually reviewing one that I saw for the first time relatively recently. You're gonna have to keep me on track again though, because I'm watching my way through the Harry Potter series for the first time, and I'm gonna have to remember what all was in the first episode, not try to keep them from.
Yeah, it's hard to not have them all together.
Yeah, what was the first
Well, maybe
one
you
called?
should just review the series.
I'm not done with it yet though.
I know, but you're almost done.
I'm close.
You're basically the series. You're basically. I don't think the last movie, right, or movie and a half. What do you have left?
Last 2 movies.
The last 2 movies are not going to change how you feel about the series.
All right, so I'm not gonna do a synopsis of the movie because again, I don't want to. You've seen it most likely, and I don't want to conflate them. But I liked it, so I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars out of 5.
Wow, 3.5?
Yeah.
I swear it was like 4 the last time we talked.
It's 3.5. It's 3.5.
So why has it gone down, JC? Because I feel like
because I don't remember ever saying the first. I don't remember saying 4 point. Either way, it's a good movie.
What do you like and dislike about it? Or what do you like about it?
What I like about it, I like the format of it. Growing up, I was always under the impression that it was this, movie just basically hinged on wizardry and witchcraft, but it's really not. It's more hinged on, it's like a mystery movie.
Right.
It's almost like a murder mystery situation. Every episode, I like that I'm going to call them episodes. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but every movie, every episode kind of has the same format where, they're built the same. Like the first scenes are obviously him right before going to Hogwarts, and it's always a terrible situation.
Muggle life.
The terrible situation he's in, whatever it is.
Situation is going on in Hogwarts.
Yeah, and something crazy terrible happens in Hogwarts, and Harry's the one that figures it out, and he saves the day, and it's crazy.
Right.
And it's every time. But it's I like it. I like the setup, and you learn more about each character every episode. It builds on itself. It's really, I like it.
Right. To add to that, Harry Potter gets 5 stars out of 5 stars for me. I've been a fan for a long time.
Save some stars for other movies.
Look, I'm sorry, you just picked one of my favorite franchises.
All right, off the bat, we're doing the best movie on the planet.
Here's the thing. If we do movie reviews and it's going to be Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, or Star Wars, it's going to have 5 stars out of 5 stars.
Which eventually will be all 3.
Unless they keep coming out with Star Wars movies, because it might start dropping.
Let's clarify. It's extremely late movie reviews. So if we review Star Wars, it's going to be episodes the original. 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
So there'll never not be a Star Wars movie.
now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what you said about how Harry Potter's organized. Like my favorite thing, like if you look at books, like some of those like post-apocalyptic books, kind of. Like Hunger Games or like Divergent and stuff. And there's some other ones. Like you get this interesting world at the beginning. It's like, whoa, this is a world that works completely different from yours. The rules are different.
Yeah.
Society's different. And you learn about it in the first book. And then when you get to the second book,
You already know everything.
You already know everything, and it's just some regular story.
It's just another story within their world.
To me, one of the best parts of Harry Potter is every time it's a new episode,
you learn something about the world.
There's new stuff about the magic. There's new stuff about Hogwarts and the characters. It's like this breathing world that he doesn't learn everything in 1 year.
Yeah.
He's in school. It takes many years of school.
Yeah.
As the reader or the watcher, you're not learning everything about the magic world in one volume. You have to keep learning along with him. And I think that's one of the best things about it is that there's always something new about the world.
Yeah.
Not just, we explain everything about the wizarding world in episode 1 and that's it. No, that's one of my favorite parts about it.
There's a bunch of stories about the wizarding world that you already understand completely.
Right, yeah. So that's one of my favorite things. And like you said, every episode's like a mystery. I love that. And I just think it's great characters. I think after the first couple episodes, the special effects get amazing.
Yeah.
The cinematography, oh man, and then from from movie 1 on, the score is amazing. Just another brilliant score. That's classic that you can remember from hearing it anywhere.
Let's clarify that after the first couple episodes, the graphics get good. That's one of the things that bumped it down from a 5-star there for me.
It's old. It's old.
I know, but still, I'm watching
Remember, we're extremely late movie reviews. If we review Gone with the Wind, are you going to be talking about special effects?
Yes, because I'm watching these movies on an OLED 4K HDR beautiful television.
Dolby Atmos.
With Dolby Atmos vision. And, oh, man, it's beautiful. And whenever you see the poor graphics at the beginning, man, it's bad. It just makes it worse.
But it gets spectacular the later it goes on.
But the storyline is what's important in the movie.
Right, yeah, great
the plot.
Story. Yep.
And I like the character arcs. I like the progression of the movies. I think it's just a great movie.
Right.
All of them, basically.
Even though they're movies, and since there's so many, it feels kind of like it has that good Star Trek TV show feel.
Yeah.
Because every episode has its own mystery, but there's an overarching mystery.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about it is every episode you have a beginning and end to something, but then the whole series has a beginning and end. So I love that as well.
And it's almost a little like if you watch them all and then you take them all as a whole, it's almost poetic. Because, like I said, every episode has the same progression. So when you finish the first one and start the next one, you're starting that next line. It's just they flow so well together, and they have that overarching theme, that overarching mystery that you figure out in the end. Also, my favorite scene so far in the entire series is
Vanilla Banana.
Not quite. Okay. Right before Vanilla Banana.
Right before Vanilla Banana.
Whenever, I forget his name, the ugly, disgusting looking dude that was a rat.
The rat. Oh, the guy that was the rat. Yeah, okay.
I was going to try and remember his name. I can't
Just
remember.
Go for it. Everybody knows what you're talking about.
Whenever he drops baby ugly Voldemort into the cauldron and it just bloop. And that's my favorite thing. That's the best scene.
Can I give you one little bitty spoiler that's not really a spoiler?
Is it in the last movies?
It's in the very last movie.
I don't know, man.
I think you're going to enjoy it, okay? It's really not a spoiler. No, it's not.
Spoiler alert to you guys and to me now.
Okay, there's going to be one scene that's abstract. It's not like really taking place, but you'll get to see creepy little baby Voldemort again.
I love and it's gonna be better graphics.
Yeah, it's just gonna be better.
Okay, we just watched the sixth one, which was not Half-Blood Prince. It was the one after. Half-Blood Prince. That's right, because we were about to start the next one and we didn't get to. But Half-Blood Prince, the graphics on that one, dude, incredible.
Yep.
So like, baby Voldemort in graphics,
a real good 4K,
in good
baby
graphics,
Voldemort.
4K. Oh, that's gonna be nice. That OLED. Oh, yeah.
OLED baby Voldemort.
Can't wait to see OLED baby Voldemort. Man.
Better stop or Elon Musk is going to call you a pedo, okay?
Oh, gosh. Don't call me a pedo on Twitter, please. That's okay.
That would be awesome. Elon, if you're watching
I don't care what you say to us.
Call us a pedo, please.
Call us anything you want. Just call us something.
Call us,
We need followers.
Yeah. But then we might get the wrong kind of followers. The left would be like, Elon Musk is attacking them. Let's follow JC and the Beardless.
And then they'll watch our content and be like, unfollow!
How can all these people
burns the truth?
Okay, are we good on that movie
Facts
review?
and statistics. Oh.
Facts and statistics.
They
burn.
My favorite scene from the whole franchise is when they're pulling up the screaming roots.
Oh, I love that part. Yes.
That part's hilarious.
Yes.
It knocks out the one kid.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Man, I'm not sure what my favorite scene is. Because we just watched them. Because you started watching them. So we're like, all right. Me and my wife are like, we're going to watch them again. And somehow we beat you. Like,
Leave
you
me
were
alone.
like 2 movies ahead of us. And then we beat you somehow.
We got a lot
through
going
all of
on,
them.
man.
My favorite dramatic scene is whenever they fight the big lizard thing.
The basilisk.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the second movie.
Good.
The lizard thing? I mean,
Yeah.
the snake thing?
Yeah.
That was pretty solid. Okay, so this is the reason it gets 3.5 stars from me, though. And I think
here we
said,
go. He's going to tell the truth now.
I think
Here
that
we
you
go.
said, I think you told me that there's there's a reason for this in the end that I don't know of yet.
Oh, you're talking about the Deus Ex Machina.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Deus Ex Machina. Every single time they're in some kind of trouble, like the main one, the one that took me, the one that like I noticed the most was whenever they were just about to get murdered by these giant spiders in the dark forest, and then that car that they wreck at the beginning of the episode just comes flying through and saves their lives out of nowhere. That's just Deus Ex Machina all over this bust.
Well, look, in the last movie, you're going to figure out why there's so much Deus Ex Machina out of nowhere.
So there is a
stuff.
reason.
Yes, there's a reason.
So when I understand the reason, maybe you'll
feel a little better about it.
I'll tell you guys what I think after having seen the last couple of episodes,
right.
and clarifying that Deus Ex Machina.
Right.
Because that was, as of yet, it still drives me insane.
Right.
Because there's still certain parts where it happens constantly, and it's just like
Here's the thing, though.
crazy.
I don't know how much you're going to like the last 2 movies because they're not organized the same way as the other ones.
really well. It's 2 parts to one movie.
I know,
anyways.
but it's still not organized the same way because it's more like this is the finale. This is going to explain stuff. It's not going to be like, oh, we're going to Hogwarts and we're going to learn new stuff.
Yeah.
And then,
Well,
it is completely different.
The way that Half-Blood Prince ends, anyway, it wouldn't really.
Yeah, you can get the feeling from Half-Blood
Yeah, it
Prince that
wouldn't-
everything has changed
If it
now.
did start that way, it'd be very strange.
Right.
Because at the very end of it is him basically saying, "I'm gonna go freaking kill Voldemort."
All the Horcruxes.
Yeah, find the Horcruxes and
Aren't there 8 movies?
Yes.
Yes, but
The last book was split into 2.
yeah, the last
7
2 movies
and
are
8.
one. It's part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, he needs to watch 7 and then 8. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
It's good.
that sounded like you were like, you're hate.
Oh, I know my favorite part of the entire series: how Lord Voldemort holds his wand. The most dainty little. I'm gonna lay it across my hand with a thumb and in between my 2. Do we have a pen or something, Dean? Dean, come grab me a pen, please. Sorry.
And making a special guest appearance, Dean's arm. Woo!
So it's like this. He holds his wand like in the most. I'm Lord Voldemort. I'm so powerful. I hold my wand like.
Leviosa.
Yeah. Vanilla banana. So that's
You should have been disarmed there, but I don't have a wand, so maybe it just doesn't work whenever you don't have
okay.
a wand.
So yeah, we rambled on about that, but
This is how they're all gonna go.
yeah. When we get to the extremely late movie reviews, it's just gonna be like us talking about it.
Yes.
It is kind of getting extremely late, so
It's
maybe
getting
we
dark
should
out
wrap
there.
this up.
All right. So let's just say thank you and goodbye. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We post articles that we write. We try to be consistent. We're not, but we try to. But you can read what we have to say about different topics that we're not going to be able to mostly talk about on the podcast. Also, I should probably tell you what those are. It's at JC and the Beardless on Instagram, at JC and the Beard on Twitter because they don't let you have so many letters, and JC and the Beardless on Facebook. We also have a Patreon account. If you want to support us, the more support we get, the better we can make this show. Eventually, we'll hopefully introduce merchandise and that kind of thing, but we need your help to get there.
Upgrade the studio.
This stuff isn't free. We've already invested a good deal into it, and it's still not exactly the highest quality. But with your help, we can get there. And
Did
thanks.
you tell them to follow us on YouTube?
Oh,
Make
yeah,
sure you
check us out on
subscribe.
YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's probably where you're watching.
Yeah,
this,
but just make sure you
subscribe
subscribe
on YouTube.
We're going to have...
Hit that bell icon. I'm only saying that because that's every single YouTuber says that.
Right,
now. I don't
yeah.
even
Hit
know
that notification bell.
Hit that notification bell.
They're going to have to search our stuff out if they don't hit the notification bell.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
No,
you want to know.
You just want it to notify
You just want to
on
know
your
what
phone,
happens.
and now you know.
Then you don't even have to. You get that little...
Less work for you.
You get that little inbox icon. Every time we post, you'll get a... It'll be in there, and you'll know. We'll have a little blue dot because you haven't seen it yet, but you will, and the blue dot will go away.
But you will.
So,
all right,
check
thanks
us out on
again,
YouTube.
everybody.
Follow us, JC and the Beardless on YouTube. Thanks again.
That's JC.
That's the Beardless.
All right, later.